Hi there. This video will demonstrate how to create pickups in Unity. This is a 2D kind of platformer type game that we're building so far. Really, this could be used for any kind of 2D game, but this is a 2D game that we're going to build some pickups that the player can interact with, collect, and be used for different purposes. This is kind of a generic pickup. And then we'll come back and talk about some other ways to add more variation to what we're doing with these pickups. Alright, so what we're going to use to begin with is just going to be a basic capsule. You can create whatever kind of visual for the pickup you might want. We're going to do, in the hierarchy tab, the plus symbol, create 2D object, sprites, and we're going to use capsule. Alright, we're going to first reset the transform so it puts it in the center of the composition. And maybe we'll use a bright yellow color for these. It's kind of yellow-green, that'll be fun. And let's add a sorting layer. So we're going to go to sorting layers because right now it's behind everything. So we're going to use add sorting layer. And we're going to hit plus. And we're going to go pickup. Okay, so new sorting layer called pickup. We'll go find my capsule and let's just go retitle this one into pickup. Pickup. Alright, and let's add that new sorting layer to that layer here. There we go. So now it's visible. We can see it. It's rather large, so let's do like 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. That'll work. So it's relatively the size of the character, which would be fine. We can make it a little smaller if we wanted to, but I think that's okay for right now. Okay, so a couple of things we're going to need. We're going to need a rigid body. So we're going to call this one, or add a rigid body 2D component. We're going to change our gravity to 0. Okay, we're going to make some other adjustments to this later, but we're going to have our gravity at 0 so then it's not going to fall down. And then we're going to create a capsule collider. Spell correctly. Capsule collider 2D. Alright, so that will create a collider that's the size of the capsule there. Alright, so technically we're ready to go. We could also add some simple animation to this. So we'll do a simple rotate animation. And to do this, we're going to use a script. So in our scripts folder, I'm going to right click, I'm going to choose create new C# script. And we will call this one pickup anim for pickup animation. Pickup anim. Alright, let's go find, actually we need to rename our capsule. No, it didn't keep our or save our name earlier, so let's change this to pickup again. Maybe that saved that time. All right, good. Sorting layer, pickup, rigid body. We have a gravity of set to 0. Capsule colliders on there. We're good to go. All right, we're gonna go to what happened to our headers? We'll go open up our project in code so we can look at that script. All right, I've opened up my folder. All this extra stuff. Here's our pickup animation script that we created. And we don't want to change anything with void start on void update, which means every frame we want it to rotate this character. So we need to access this object. We need to access this object's transform rotation. Let's go back into code. And under void update, which is on every frame we want it to rotate a certain degree here. So let's try something here with the value and go back and test it. So we need the transform component, transform dot rotate, that's a capital R, transforms lowercase dot capital R for rotate. And we're going to open up a new vector3 parameter. So transform.rotate, we're going to set that. We need the 3 values, so new vector 3, 0, 0, and let's just try 90. All right, so we need 3 values because in Unity we have an X, Y, and Z rotate. And the rotate we want is the actual rotate Z, which is rotation horizontally. So that's why we put 90 there. And then we're going to close that parentheses. We need to open one up right here. So new vector, open parentheses, 0, 0, 90, close parentheses. And then we're going to do times time dot delta time. That's the first time is capitalized, delta is lowercase, and then time is capitalized again. So time dot delta time. Close the first area of parentheses, and then a semicolon. All right, that's our code. So basically what it's going to do is going to rotate that 90 degrees, and we will see how that works. It might be too fast or too slow. We'll check it out here in a second. So save that, Control S, go back into Unity. See if we got any arrows. Nope, that looks good. And let's play. All right, so it looks like it's keeping up with, oh, we got to change a couple other things, sorry. So in order for this to work, we also need to turn off the way the rigid body is set up so that it actually doesn't collide with other things other than when we tell it to. Okay, and also actually, now that I think of it, it wasn't rotating at all. It was colliding. I was looking to see if it was colliding first. So it wasn't rotating at all because we don't have the script on there. So with our pickup object, we are going to go down to our pickup animation script and add it to our pickup object as a component. Very good. Now it should rotate. There you go. So it's rotating. It actually is colliding with other objects, which could be an option. You may want it to rotate and collide with other objects. Well, we don't want it to collide with like that platform that's moving right now. And we don't want that collision to have to move the object as it's rotating. So we're actually going to change the way this works. We're going to go select the pickup. And instead of a dynamic rigid body that will react to other objects, we want to change the body type to kinematic. So if I change this to kinematic, and then in the capsule collider, this is going to be helpful for the next thing when the player collides with this. We're going to turn on is trigger. It's going to be important in a little bit. So basically now when I hit play, no other object is going to affect it. The other objects can overlap it right now. And that was the changing the body type to kinematic, which means it's the movement's going to be dependent on the script that we add to it. And the is trigger is going to be an option when the player wants to collide with it to do something. So we're going to use a trigger to collect it. Right, there you go. So it's rotating 90 degrees. If I wanted to change that speed, then I can come to my script and let's just show you for a difference 360 and save. So it was 90, now it's 360. Let's save that. Go back into Unity and hit play. There you go, so it's spinning a lot faster now. Maybe I like that, maybe we'll leave it like that, whatever you might want to do. But that value can just easily be changed as far as how fast it's spinning. If you want it to be slower, lower value, faster, higher value. All right, if you want it to spin in the opposite direction, you would do a negative value. So that's something else we could do as well. Let's turn off play. And let's come in here and let's do negative 360. And let's save, go back into Unity. Hit play. Now it's going to spin in the opposite direction. There you go, so now it spins clockwise. Negative values, clockwise. Positive value, counterclockwise. Alright. So, one other thing we want to add is the ability for the player to interact with this, and this is going to be added to the player character script. And we have to do a couple things. We're going to add a tag later, but let's go find our player movement platformer script. And what we're going to add to this is a new function called, I'm going to do this below everything else, a new function called onTriggerEnter. So we'll do void onTriggerEnter2D. And we're going to open up a parentheses. We're going to choose collider 2D and other. And this is going to be very similar to the onCollisionEnter and onCollisionExit. We created a tag, so we'll follow the same kind of structure, but basically means when the player triggers the collision, do something. All right, so this is going to be an on-trigger collision. So let's just remove all this back out again. Other. Stop doing that. Autocorrect is adding that in there. Okay. go. And there. All right, so on trigger enter, open parentheses, collider 2D, other, which is going to mean when triggering the collision of another object, do something. So when the player collides with something else, it triggers that other object, it does something. So we need an if statement. So if, open parentheses, other dot game object dot compare tag, similar to what we did up here in the collisions. We're going to do open parentheses, open quotations, and we're going to title this one pickup. Pickup. Close quotation, close parentheses, and close second parentheses. So when our player triggers the collision of another object with a tag called pickup, then do something. All right, so underneath that, we're going to open up and close our curly brackets. And then there's two ways to do this. We can turn on and off the set active. So for this object, the checkbox up here, if it's on, that means it's active. If this checkbox is off, that means it's inactive. Which means if it's on, it's going to render in the game mode. If this is set to inactive, it's not going to be visible in the game mode. So that's one way we can do this. Let's turn it on by default. And in our script, we're going to come down here and we're going to choose other dot game object dot set active. Then we're going to do open parentheses and we're going to type in false. Close parentheses, semicolon. So this just turns off, on and off, the ability for this object in Unity to affect the game world when the player is playing. All right, so let's save. Let's go into Unity. Let that compile. Let's see. 61 or 67. I think they'll have too many here. I have too many of these. Let's remove that out. Okay, let's save. I had too many color brackets. There we go. That corrects that. So that was added to the player script. And we need to add a tag to our pickup. So here are our tags up here. And I already have one, but I'm going to go in here to add tag. And I'm just going to remove the pickup. So we'll do remove. And then now I can add one called pickup. If I can spell correctly. Pickup. And it is important to rename it the exact same as what you named it in your code. So it needs to be named capital P, the rest is lowercase. So capital P, the rest is lowercase. All right, so let's go back to our pickup object and add that pickup tag. Okay. So when the player triggers the collision of any object with that tag called pickup, then it's going to turn off the set active option for this object. So let's go test it out. It may do that automatically since that's where my character is. Let's move my character away so it doesn't do it automatically. Right, there we go. There we go. So it's spinning. It's active. I can see it. If I collide with it now, there you go, it deactivates it. So when it deactivates something, it just makes it gray in the hierarchy. And if I select that object in the hierarchy while in play mode, that checkbox is now off, which means it's deactive. It's technically still in the game, it's just deactive. So I can also set another command to make it active again. So that's okay, but what if I have 900,000 pickups? And every time the player collects it, if I set it to active to false, then it keeps it in the game world, it just turns it off. That could cut down on performance. So depending on how many pickups you have, you may want to use this other method. So instead of set active to false, I'm just going to comment that out right now with two forward slashes. Instead, the other option is to use a destroy. So the destroy will remove it from the game world temporarily while I'm playing. It doesn't delete it entirely from my project, it just removes it from the game world while the game is playing. So I'm going to do destroy, capital D, destroy, and we'll do open parentheses, other dot game object, close parentheses, semicolon. Let's save. So this method will destroy the object, not just set it inactive. All right, so let's save and go back into Unity. So this is just another method. So if I have 900,000 different pickups, This will destroy it and cut down on the amount of objects that are still in the game as it needs to render or remember that information. So now when I hit play, it's visually going to look the same. It's not going to look any different. So if I come over here and jump over it to collide with it, look in the hierarchy now. It's gone from the hierarchy. It doesn't delete it entirely, it just deletes it from the game mode, the play mode. So that is a little bit better method when we need to cut down the amount of objects that the game has to handle at any one given time. Destroy is better for removing that object out from the game mode. Set active, change false or positive, or false or true, will keep it in the game world, just temporarily turn it on and off. So if I get out of play mode, my pickup is still there, but my object can be destroyed while I'm playing. Alright, so that's it for creating the pickup. Last thing we can do is drag this into our prefabs folder and create a new prefab with this. So that way, now that it's created, I kept it in the center of my screen while I was creating that, but now that it's created, I can come over here and kind of move this around. I can hit Control D and duplicate this around. Put another one maybe up here, another one down at the bottom, and then we'll scatter a couple of more around here. There you go. That would cause the player, give the player some indication of what to do. Alright, so now I have duplicate copies. They're all prefabs. They all have their individual use. That one destroys that one, removes that from a hierarchy. Removed another one. So I can go collect all of these. And this could be like one of the end goals for the game as well. So removing those pickups as I go along. There you go. So all my pickups are gone. They're temporarily gone from the game. If I unpause it, all my pickups are still there. So to kind of simplify some of this, I can create an empty game object now. Kind of finalize everything. Let's create an empty game object. We can call this one pickups. And I can drag all of my pickups underneath that empty game object. Actually, before I do that, let's make sure we center that to our grid. So before you use this as a hierarchy node, let's go reset transform, and then now I can drag all my pickups underneath that object. So it just kind of condenses what's visible in my hierarchy. There's one kind of overall object to select for all pickups as well. So that's how we can create some simple pickups that the player can collide with, and also have some simple animation too.